Good morning, dear students. So today's topic is resettlement and rehabilitation. So this is a topic in the unit we are going with social issues after disaster management. So there are many social issues which are relevant to disaster management and also the environment. One of them is resettlement and rehabilitation. So today we will learn about this in detail. People are forced to move out of their land due to both natural and man-made disasters. If some disaster happens at any place, people are forced to move out their lands. The way they are living and the place they are living in, sometime it happens after a disaster they have to leave that place and move to some other land. The disaster may be natural and it may be man-made. Natural disasters like earthquakes, cyclones, tsunami, etc. render thousands of people homeless and sometimes even force them to move and resettle in other areas. So it's a common thing which you might have heard about this. Sometimes disasters are so like इतने ज़्यादा लेवल पे सुनामी आया था कि उस एरिया का जो सारा रेजिडेंट्स है वो सब खत्म हो गए एंड द पीपल are forced to move from their places and they have to resettle somewhere else. Similarly, developmental projects like construction of roads, dams, canals and flyovers displace people from their homes. This also happen some of the government projects, developmental projects, they also force people to leave their places and resettle somewhere else. You must all be aware of the recent nuclear leakage in Japan, due to which millions of people were forced to leave the area for their safety. So ये न्यूज़ में भी था, जापान में जो लीकेज हुई थी, न्यूक्लियर लीकेज हुई थी, जिसकी वजह से वो एरिया जो था, it was not it should not be people should not be there in a particular diameter उस न्यूक्लियर लीकेज की वजह से. सो उस एक पर्टिकुलर डायमीटर में जितने भी लोग वहां पर रह रहे थे उन सबको they were resettled somewhere else. So the people who are living there in their homes, they have a proper business there, they have their jobs, employment, everything was lost and they were resettled somewhere else. Now, what actually resettlement and rehabilitation? What is the difference between both the terms? Look similar, resettlement and rehabilitation, but there is a difference. Resettlement refers to the process of settling again in a new area. When you leave that area where you are living in and you resettle somewhere else and in a new area, it is simple relocation and displacement of population. एक सेट ऑफ पॉपुलेशन को एक जगह से डिस्प्लेस करके दूसरी जगह पर ले जाया जाता है और वहां पर उनको रीलोकेट कर दिया जाता है. दिस इज व्हाट वी कॉल रीसेटलमेंट. इफ वी टॉक अबाउट रिहैबिलिटेशन मीन्स रिस्टोरेशन ऑफ द फॉर्मर स्टेट. कि अगर कोई डिजास्टर हुआ है और इट इज पॉसिबल टू आप उसे ठीक कर सकते हैं, देन वी गो फॉर रिहैबिलिटेशन. इट मीन्स वी आर रीस्टोरिंग द फॉर्मर स्टेट. जो पहले सिचुएशन थी हम सारी चीजों को रीस्टोर करके पहले वाली सिचुएशन में लेके आ रहे हैं. इन रिहैबिलिटेशन लैंड इज सेम, ऑन द सेम लैंड वी आर रीस्टोरिंग एवरीथिंग, but in resettlement we are moving from one piece of land to other piece of land. So this is a difference between resettlement and rehabilitation. Now whenever resettlement and rehabilitation occur, it should include the lost economic assets, safeguard employment and provide safe land for building. So as per the rules of government, whenever resettlement is done and whenever rehabilitation is done, the people who have lost their economic assets, they should be given support, their employment should be safeguarded and they should be provided a safe land to build their houses. Now what are the reasons for this kind of displacement? The first is natural disasters like earthquake, cyclone, tsunamis, volcano eruptions, prolonged droughts condition, floods, hurricanes, etc. सो जो भी आपके नेचुरल डिजास्टर्स हैं जिनके बारे में हम पढ़ भी चुके हैं, दे ऑल लीड टू रिहेबिलिटेशन एंड रीसेटलमेंट. Sometime the disaster is at such a rate that rehabilitation is not possible at that place, so they are relocated. So we do go for resettlement. But if the disaster leaves some opportunity to be rehabilitated, so we go for rehabilitation. Man-made disasters like industrial accidents, for example, Bhopal gas tragedy, nuclear accident, current disaster in Japan, oil spills, toxic contamination of sites, etc. So disasters could be natural, disasters could be man-made, but these disasters lead to resettlement and rehabilitation. In search of better employment opportunities, sometime resettlement happens only in search of better employment opportunities. A particular area which is lacking employment, the people may migrate from that area to other area just for the sake of opportunities, job opportunities. It also happens in Mexico. Mexicans, they simply resettle them in California area. It was in news also when Trump has made the boundaries that all the Mexicans should be sent back to their city, their state. So that time I have read somewhere in newspaper that Mexicans, because in Mexico job opportunities are very less, they are starving for a penny. So at that time they decided to resettle in other state just for job opportunities. Sometimes developmental projects like construction of dam, irrigation canals and reservoirs, etc. कुछ developmental projects हमारे देश में ऐसे भी होते हैं, not only हमारे देश में, all over the world, in every country it can happen. So sometime developmental projects like construction of dam, if you have to construct a dam, that means a particular area, a diameter where there is a possibility due to that dam that flood could occur. So that जो floodway है उसको सारे को क्लीन कर दिया जाता है, वहां पर जितने भी रेजिडेंट्स हैं उन सबको रीसेटल कर दिया जाता है किसी और जगह पर. So developmental projects can also be one of the reason behind displacement of people. Infrastructural projects like flyover, bridges, roads, etc. Transportation activities like road, highway, canal, etc. Energy related projects like power plants, oil exploration, mining activities, pipelines like HPJ pipeline, etc. तो कुछ ऐसे भी reasons हो सकते हैं, not only developmental projects but also एनर्जी रिलेटेड प्रोजेक्ट्स की. अगर कोई बहुत बड़ा पावर प्लांट लगाना है तो जो एरिया उसके रिस्क में आता है कि इफ एन इंसिडेंट हैपन्स तो एक पर्टिकुलर डायमीटर में से लोगों को निकाल दिया जाता है. माइनिंग इज ऑल्सो, अगर कहीं पर ये चीज आइडेंटिफाई होती है कि हेयर वी हैव टू स्टार्ट अ माइनिंग एक्टिविटी, देन ऑल्सो पीपल आर resettled. Sometimes agriculture projects are also a reason for resettlement. Projects related to conservation of wildlife like national parks, sanctuaries and biosphere reserves. If government decides to create some kind of natural park or sanctuaries at a particular area where the wildlife could be reserved, so that particular area is also be used for that sanctuary and that national park, and the people surrounded there, living there, residing there, are told to be resettled somewhere else. Now there are many issues related to resettlement. It's not easy to leave your place where you are living in and to go and resettle somewhere else. You also need a home, you also need a job opportunity. People who are already doing some kind of employment there and they are earning money, they find it very difficult to resettle somewhere else. So there are many issues related to resettlement. Some of them I'm just going to discuss with you. Little or no support. Displacement mainly hits tribal and rural people, who usually do not figure in the priority list of any political authority or party. So this is really a big issue. People who are strong, who are economically strong, who are politically strong, they get opportunities also, and they get a good land also to live at a new place. But the people who are tribal and rural, they are mainly affected with this replacement or resettlement, because no political party or other government parties, they do not give any importance to such tribal or rural people. This is a bad thing which is happening in India especially. Meager compensation. The compensation for the land lost is often not paid, it is delayed, or even if paid, it is too small, both in monetary terms and the social changes forced on them by these mega developmental projects. So the compensation given to the people is a neutral compensation, like जो भी लैंड की जो लैंड उन्होंने छोड़ी है, उस लैंड का जो कॉस्ट बनता है, ठीक है, उसको न्यूट्रलाइज करके उनको एक लमसम अमाउंट दे दिया जाता है कंपनसेशन में, इफ दे हैव टू रिहैबिलिएट resettle. And sometimes the place they are moving in, जिस नई जगह पर वो जा रहे हैं, the cost of land is different, so they have to pay a lot of money for that. So the compensation they are receiving for their land is not sufficient to settle at a new place. So this is a very big issue for the people who are facing resettlement. Loss of livelihood. Displacement is not a simple incident in the lives of the displaced people. They have to leave their ancestral land and forest on which they depend on their livelihood. Many of them have no skills to take up another activity or pick up any other occupation. Usually the new land that is offered to them is of poor quality and refugees are unable to make a living. अब एक पर्टिकुलर स्किल के साथ एक जगह पर कोई अगर सेटल्ड है, इट इज नॉट पॉसिबल फॉर देम टू डेवलप अ न्यू स्किल अकॉर्डिंग टू द न्यू एरिया दे आर मूविंग इन. तो उनका जो नेचुरल लाइवलीहुड है, जहाँ पर वो रह रहे हैं, उनकी इंसेस्ट्रल प्रॉपर्टी है, उनका इंसेस्ट्रल बिजनेस है, वो सब कुछ खत्म हो जाता है और एक नई जगह पर जाकर उनको सेटल होने की सबके पास वो स्किल नहीं होती. सो जो रेफ्यूजीज होते हैं, जो एक जगह से डिस्प्लेस करके दूसरी जगह ले जाए जाते हैं, दे फेस दे फेस स्टार्वेशन. उनको इतना ज़्यादा अपनी ज़िंदगी को आगे चलाने के लिए सफ़र करना पड़ता है रेफ्यूजीज को, वी कांट इवन इमेजिन. सो दिस इज अ सपोर्ट विच गवर्नमेंट शुड गिव, बट इट इज़ नॉट एक्चुअली हैपनिंग. Lack of facilities. When people are resettled in a new area, basic infrastructure and amenities are not provided in that area. Very often temporary camps become permanent settlement. It is also a major problem of displacement or resettlement that people have to face. Sometime it happens, 90% time it happens, that when they are given a new area for settlement, the area is actually not sufficient for all the infrastructural requirements. उनको एक ऐसा लैंड दिया जाता है जिस लैंड पे ऑलरेडी कोई अभी तक रेजिडेंट नहीं है. एक एक्स्ट्रा सी जो लैंड होती है वहां पर उनको रिहेबिलिएट कर दिया जाता, रीसेटल कर दिया जाता है, और वहां पर किसी भी तरह की बेसिक जो एमिनिटीज होती हैं वो उनको प्रोवाइड ही नहीं होती. सो वो एक रेफ्यूजी कैंप बन के चला जाता है जिसमें सालों साल उनको परमानेंटली रहना पड़ता है मजबूरी में. सो दिस इज वेरी बिग इशू ड्यूरिंग रीसेटलमेंट. लॉस ऑफ आइडेंटिटी. Tribal life is a community based. The tribal are simple people who live a lifestyle of their own. Displacement have a negative impact on their livelihood, culture, spiritual existence in many ways. Loss of identity, of course, जो ट्राइबल पीपल हैं, जो रूरल पीपल हैं, जो बहुत सीधी सादी लाइफ जीते हैं, वो एक पर्टिकुलर एरिया में रहते हैं, और उस पर्टिकुलर एरिया में उनका अपना एक अलग ही लाइफस्टाइल होता है। जब वो उस जगह को छोड़कर किसी दूसरी नई जगह पर जाते हैं तो उनकी अपनी आइडेंटिटी बिल्कुल खत्म हो जाती है। दे हैव टू ट्रांसफॉर्म देम अकॉर्डिंग टू द न्यू प्लेस। उनको अपने आप को, अपने सब पीछे की चीजों को छोड़कर एक नया ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन करना पड़ता है टू एग्जिस्ट इन अ न्यू एरिया। So this is a very big issue with them.